Welcome to this episode of Martial Truth Podcast, my interview with Sensei Tom Lewis. Lewis Sensei was a direct student of Master Tatsuo Shimabuku or Okinawa. He started training there in 1959. 86 years young, living out in Wyoming. Had some issues with the Wi-Fi, but the audio is very good. Has a lot of very interesting things to say about his time training there with O-Sensei and about a lot of other things going on. So it's a very good interview, and I'm glad he consented to do it. So as always, please click that like, share, and subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. More interviews coming up in the next few weeks. We'll get back to some of my single ramblings too with the podcast. All right, so please, again, click that like, share, subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. And here's my interview with Tom Lewis.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. So you're out there in the wilderness of Wyoming, huh?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you have a ranch out there, or?
No, I had a ranch in Cody.
Okay.
And then when I got cancer and everything, I had to pull up stakes and get well. And so then when I came back, I live in a little small community called Daniel, and that's between Pinedale and Jackson Hole.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much totally retired. I just do some yard work and keep myself busy.
Okay. So I'm glad I'm finally getting to meet you. I'm glad I'm getting to talk to you.
My pleasure.
You know, I've been lucky in my Isshin-Ryu journey, in that I've met or trained with many of the first generation guys. A few I didn't get to meet or train for whatever reasons. They'd either passed away before I got to meet them, or whatever, distance couldn't do it. But I trained with Harold Mitchum. I met him, trained with him on more than one occasion. Obviously, Nicholas Sensei trained with a bunch. John Bartasevitz, I still talk to him on a regular basis on the phone. Don Nagel, Harry Ackland, Walt Van Gilson. So there's a bunch of them I got to meet and train with. Some, I had more or less a cup of coffee with. Other ones I a little bit more involved with, I just thought it'd be nice to have you on and talk about maybe what it was like when you trained on Okinawa with Tatsuo. A lot of people have misconceptions about what that was like, and I just thought it'd be interesting to hear from you. Now, you were in the Marines, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And when were you there on Okinawa?
1959.
Okay. So you were there in 69.
59.
Oh, 59. Okay. All right. So you were there in 59.
Yes.
And who was there when you were there? Were any of the other guys there when you were there?
Oh yeah, the whole bunch. Steve Armstrong, Harold Mitchum, Jim Avincula, Jake Eckenrud.
Okay.
Clarence Ewan.
Okay.
I could go on and on.
Okay. So a lot of them were there while you were there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what was it like training with Tatsuo Sensei? Like, what did the classes consist of?
Well, there really wasn't any classes. Occasionally, somebody like Harold Mitchum or Jim Avincula would do like a little seminar and stuff that way, but you were pretty much on your own. He would get one of the Okinawans to work with you on your basics and then your katas and stuff like that. And occasionally, especially if he saw something wrong, he would come out and he would correct you, or he would go ahead and show you a few more moves. But there was no organized classes.
Okay.
And occasionally, if you're a black belt working with weapons, we would go over to Angi's dojo because of the room and what have you.
Right.
And but yeah, that was pretty much it. We did
we lost you for a second.
Oh, I lost you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So that was pretty much it. It was a whole lot different back then than it is now.
And did obviously you guys were being paid by the US government to be Marines, so karate wasn't your first priority as far as the your employer was concerned. So how often were you guys training?
Well, I think everybody was different, because being in the Marine Corps, you had people coming in and out. Sometimes you'd have duty somewhere else, or you'd be gone for a little bit. And so I don't, it was just, uh, well, let's see, with me, I probably went 4 times a week.
Okay.
And for a short time, I was a prison chaser, which was great duty because if it got really, really hot, I took the prisoners back to the brig and I would go down to the dojo and work out during the day. But ordinarily, it was nighttime workout for me.
Okay. So the dojo was open all the time, basically.
Well, I think he opened it around, I'm going to say around 10 o'clock in the morning and probably shut it down about 9 at night. And oftentimes, if you went down during the day, he was doing his workout then.
Okay.
You walk in, he'd be working on the McAvoy or working on his kata or something that way. And then at night, he was pretty much sitting on his tatami and observing the class.
Okay. And what was he like? Like, what were your opinions of Tatsuo? I mean, did he come across as a father figure? Did he come across as being very strict? What was your opinion of him?
I love the man. The only
I lost you for a
now,
second.
yeah. How about now?
I got your voice, but not your picture yet. But that's
Can you
okay.
hear
You can
me,
keep
Michael?
you can keep going. I can hear you. Yeah.
Well, the biggest problem I think for the majority of us was the communication, not being able to speak fluent. But in time, you would get his gestures and understand exactly what he was saying. But when he would tell his stories or whatever, you were totally lost. But I love the man. He he was just a legend over in Okinawa. And being able to train with him was just such an honor. And I regret to this day that I didn't go back, and I haven't been back, I never got back.
Right.
But I don't think he was strict or anything. You were pretty much on your own.
Okay.
But he knew you. He knew right where you were on your katas all the time. And by the time you had been there about 6 months, he knew a lot about you.
Okay. So when you left, you were taught the eight hand kata, right?
Right.
And what about weapons? What weapons were you taught before you left?
Um, Bow, Sai, and a little bit of Nunchuck. No, I'm sorry, Tonfa.
Tonfa.
I don't
Okay.
think that was his favorite, and it wasn't my favorite either.
Okay.
I'm a bow man.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting, because depending on when you were there, you learn different things, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah. But I
so like,
learned two Sai katas. Yeah, I was going to say two Sai katas, two bow katas.
oh, okay. All right. So a lot of the first generation guys only learned one bow kata and one side kata before they came back.
Uh-huh.
So that's
Yeah.
interesting that
Well,
you learned
I
too.
learned. I learned two.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Shantanyari no Sai, and then Kusai and Kusai.
Okay.
So there's your two Sai katas.
Right. And then I guess you
And
learned
then
Tokumi no Kun.
Ueshinabo, yes, yes. And that's the one I competed with the most.
Okay. Yeah. It's a very
Yeah,
interesting
that was
kata.
oh,
So
I like it. It's basic. It's not too long, like Boshishi and Urishi.
right.
Ooh, sometimes you wonder if five judges aren't going to fall asleep on you.
Well, it's funny. I was not a big sport karate guy, but the few times I did compete, I would do shishi no kun. And the one time
Uh-huh.
I placed,
Right.
and when the judge handed me the trophy, he said, leaned into me and said, I don't know how you remember that effing kata. He said, because it was so long. And I laughed because
Yeah.
what are you going to do? It's a very, very long kata. Um, you know, Did you
It
see
is.
was Tyrish and Ken there at all when you were there?
In and out. I didn't see him very much.
Okay.
And frankly, I didn't know who he was,
So,
at the time.
it's funny you say that because Sherman Harrell, I trained with Sherman Harrell a bunch. And Sherman Harrell said to me one
Huh?
time they were making a demonstration that they were going to do for Bosai, and they didn't know who this guy was, and
Uh-huh.
he was working with Tatsuo Sensei. And Sherman Harrell said as he
Right.
left, he went over to them and told them good, good, and like clapped his hands, right? And then years later,
Yeah.
Sherman Harrell saw a picture and realized, oh my God, that was Tyrish and Ken that told us good. So Sherman Harrell said the
Right.
same thing. He goes, I didn't know who he was, Mike. You know?
Well, that's the situation sort of happened to me when the first night I walked in that dojo, Master Shimabuku put this Okinawan on me to do the basics and what have you. As it turned out, I didn't know until many years later, it was Tokumura.
Tokumura Sensei. Okay. Yeah. I just spent an
Yeah.
after
Hmm.
I was in Okinawa in December and I spent a whole afternoon with Tokumura Sensei. So we went out to lunch and everything. I was at his dojo. He showed me a lot of pictures. He was very good friends with Jake Eckenrode. So
Right, right.
yeah, and he's doing good, Tokumura. I mean, looks good. He's still teaching and training, and so yeah, he's doing quite well. He let me
He's unbelievable.
yeah, and he let me take
He's
photos of
unbelievable for his age.
yeah, oh yeah, and he let me take photos of all his scrapbooks. So it was nice. I was able to do that to
Uh-huh.
have that to save that history. Um,
Very
so
good.
so so you're there in '59. Was Angi already training or hadn't started training yet?
No, he lived across the road, and when we went over to do bokatas and what have you, I would see him running around. He'd be in his gi pants and a mother-in-law shirt, So no, he hadn't started training in '59 nor '60.
Okay. Yeah. Because I understand he started, I think, around 63.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And when you came back, what Dan were you when you came back? Were you a sixth Dan when you came back?
No, most of the guys weren't, but I got shipped out. I was in base Fuji for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months or something. So I missed out on one of the bokatas.
Okay.
And Master Shimabuku knew that. So he made me a Godan.
Oh, okay. So still. All right. Yeah.
An
So
interesting story. I went to Don Nichols, and the first thing he asked me, he said, "What's your rank?" And I told him a Shodan. He didn't go for it. No, well, I'm like Sherman Harold and I both put our certificates in the closet. I didn't break mine out for 10 or 15 years when I had my dojo. And then Master Nagel actually promoted me to Nidan and Sandan, and I've
okay.
never been a Yandan.
Okay.
So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, and then Harold Mitchum promoted me from that point on, from Godon on.
So what I was going to say was, so I was in the room when Harold Mitchum was promoted to ninth dan by the Old Japan Budo Federation. So
Uh-huh.
out of Japan, I was actually there. I was there when he got that promotion. Um, so
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting day. Yeah, so Sherman Harold said that Tatsuo basically said to you guys when he handed you your Dan certificates that, this is if you trained hard, you deserve this in X amount of years. Like Sherman Harold told me, he said Tatsuo told him, if you train hard, you'll deserve this in 20 years or so, right? And that's what Sherman
He
Harold
told me the
said.
same thing.
Yeah, he said he put it in a drawer and he just practiced on his own. And then eventually, 20 years later or so, because Sherman Harold, nobody had even heard of him until he came out, in the early 90s and started actually teaching
Uh,
and going around more. So it's kind of interesting because some of those guys never said that story. They came back 6 dans and just said, "Oh yeah, I'm a 6 dan." Tatsuo didn't, he just promoted us. They didn't say that. He said, "No, no, you're giving this, but you really won't deserve it for like another 20 years." You know?
Right. Yeah. Interesting story about Sherman Harrell. He left the island before his silks were ready.
Okay.
So I made sure that when I got a hold of those silks, I mailed them to him. He never forgot that.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sherman
Good man.
again taken way too soon. Gone,
Yeah,
gone way too
absolutely.
soon. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's important. I mean, like I said, I feel blessed because I got to meet and train with so many of the first generation guys. And obviously, I spent a lot of time with Angi Uezu too. I spent obviously a lot of time with Kichiro Shimabuku. Um, I just feel blessed that I've been able to glean and learn different things from different guys, again,
Right.
I just think it's important to hear from you guys because, I think some of the young people that are doing Isshin-Ryu. I'll be 62 next week, so I don't consider myself that younger person anymore. Um, but I think some of the younger people really don't understand what it was like training on Okinawa at that time period with Tatsuo. I think they have a weird idea of what he was like. And I also think I see a lot of things like when I'm seeing people do the kata and stuff, they've made these weird changes to kata. When
Right.
we have so many of these first generation guys on video. We're lucky. Like I said to someone the other day, like we're so lucky. We actually have the founder on video doing the kata. And
Uh-huh.
in some of the video, he's not going that hard, but it doesn't matter. You see how natural he moves. And then a lot of the modern people I see doing the Isshin-Ryu kata, their movements are unnatural. Like they're like putting these weird movements in the kata. And I just say to myself, well, we
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
founder on video. Why aren't we looking at the videos of the founder or the videos of other first generation guys, whether it's Sherman Harold, Harold Mitchum, Vidvinkler, yourself, it doesn't matter. John Bartasevitz, all you guys, when I see any of you guys do a kata, there's a consistency in the movement. So
Right.
every
Right.
first generation guy I see do a kata, I go, oh yeah, that guy trained with Tatsuo. Like you guys all have a
Yeah.
consistency in your movement. And then now I look at Isshin-Ryu dojo from dojo to dojo. I don't see consistency. I see too much like differences. Like they're changing the kata just to change it, and I don't understand it. And
Right.
a couple of years ago, Kichiro Sensei sent me a video of him doing all the kata. And, I sat and watched it, and it was pretty much exactly the way his father does the kata. Maybe one or two very little things, which, weren't even worth like mentioning. But I said, so why is everybody changing the kata when we have a guide? So we should know what the kata should look like, you know?
You know what? It's a shame that they didn't do two films. One with him doing it as a teaching a video. The other one just as he would do a kata. Because if you haven't seen him do Kung Fu, I'll tell you, boy, that was he's just amazing.
Right.
When he's going full blast.
Right.
And but yeah, you're right. And if you want to see changes, go to IHOF and watch the katas there. You'll see some tradition, and then you'll see some you go, what in the hell?
So, so it's funny. I interviewed Jeff Perkins 10 days ago,
Uh-huh.
and Jeff said the exact same thing you just said. He said, if you want to see changes in the kata, go to IHOF. That's what he said. He said the exact same thing. I've never been there.
Yeah.
So I've never been there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good event. I miss, at my age, I'm 86. So if I was to go to IHOF now, it'd be for social reasons.
right, right.
And I've known those guys from Tennessee, Harold Long's people, for many, many years.
Yeah, again, the same thing with
Yeah.
me.
And
Like,
Jeff comes to see me once a year.
oh, nice, Very nice. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I know Jeff a long time. We met years ago,
He,
and again, we were both police officers, so we also had that camaraderie there, right? So I was a member of the
uh-huh.
NYPD for almost 23 years. He was a member of the Detroit, police officer in Detroit. But
Right.
we also trained with Sherman Harrell and Advincula. So, I met Jeff at a lot of the Advincula things, at some of the Sherman Harrell things. Uh, so, yeah, it's again, with this podcast, I'm trying to interview people, and I don't just interview Isshin-Ryu people. I interview people from all different styles, just because I'm trying to preserve the history and different things. Like I'm hoping to get an interview with Robert Teller in the near future. He was on Okinawa for a long time, studied with many
Mm-hmm.
teachers. Um, I just think I just think it's good, and people seem to like the interviews. So as long as people keep watching them, I'll keep doing it, you know.
Well, I was so lucky when I had my dojo in Salisbury, Maryland. I was honored by so much talent to come in and do seminars and what have you. Sensei Mitchum, I had Don Boham was a good friend of mine, Rick Namira.
Okay.
Those guys would come in and do some seminars, and I'm telling you, to watch these guys were something else. They threw away the mold when Don Bohan passed away.
Right.
Did you ever meet him?
I never got to meet him.
Did,
So he
oh,
but Sherman Harrell obviously talked about him very highly, and other guys talked about him very
uh,
highly too, you know. So, yeah, I mean that's why
yeah,
it's important,
he was a character.
Yeah, it's important to that's why when I went to Okinawa the first time in 1991, Kichiro Sensei said to me, he said, "Go out and train with everybody you think is better than you, and learn from all of them, and take what you like from each of those guys and add it to your own Isshin-Ryu karate." And he said the same about him. He says, "Mike, if you see something I do that you don't like, okay, so don't do it." He goes, "But learn from everybody and make your own strong Isshin-Ryu karate." And that was a game changer as far as in my own personal karate, because he basically took any restrictions off me. He said, go out and study with all the guys
Hmm.
and learn from them all. Don't just do what I do. Go, learn from everybody. And that was great for me.
Right.
And so I always appreciate that with him. And he's treated me great. I mean, I know him since 1981. Um, and he's treated me and my family fantastic. You know, sadly, Isshin-Ryu is not that big on Okinawa right now. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree with that. Rick Namira told me one time, said if a drunk can show him a technique, he'll take it.
right, right. I don't, you know, I don't. One of the things I have a problem with is instructors that don't want their students being exposed to anybody else.
Right.
Um, I don't think it's good. I
No,
don't think,
I don't either.
yeah. Um,
No.
I trained with Angi Weizu a bunch. I trained with a lot of these different guys. I do other martial arts too. And Kichido Sensei was never against me training in these other martial arts, um, which was good,
Uh-huh.
right? I also do Mariyoshi Kobudo. So it's an Okinawan style of Kobudo. And,
Uh-huh.
the one time I got to Okinawa with one of my students, and Kichido Sensei was there to pick me up, but I didn't know he was coming to pick me up. And my Kobudo Sensei also showed up to pick me up. So they were both at the airport to pick me up. And my Kobudo, they had never met. And I introduced them, and we all went out to dinner, and it turned out to be really nice. They got to meet and talk. So it was kind of nice that the two of them got to meet. Kichido speaks very good English. So it's always easy for me to communicate with him when I go. Um, you know, but yeah, the Isshin-Ryu is very small in Okinawa now. There's
Uh,
there's some reasons for that are not necessarily Isshin-Ryu's fault. You know, I think some of the other heads of I think there's been a bit of an effort to kind of keep Isshin-Ryu down on Okinawa. Um, I still think there's,
Why?
well, I think there's still resentment amongst some of the styles that Tatsuo was getting paid by the government to teach karate. So
Uh-huh.
I think there's still some of that evident there. Um, and some of the other styles that claim to come from Kion Sensei, you know, they all want to be the only,
Uh-huh.
they're the real style. And, you know, I've had a few people in other styles say to me, they really believe that the Isshin-Ryu is the true Kion style of karate. They think that Isshin-Ryu is, you know, and that's one of the things I want guys to understand too, is just how great a martial art Ishin-ryu is, and just what Tatsuo created is so special, you know. And I think some guys don't
Yes, it
get,
is.
yeah, you know, they don't. I think some guys don't appreciate that. You know, they like, oh well, I'm going to train with this guy in Shorin-ryu, so
A bit better reception.
yeah,
When you were talking about Kichido did spend a couple of days at my house and taught a seminar at or a clinic, at my dojo for 2 days, and so it was an honor to have him. When you were talking about training with other systems, I trained in the Bando system for a little while under
okay,
Dr. Monji.
sure,
That system just didn't work for me. I can't get down in those low crouch moves, for the tiger forms and
right,
what have you. And but I really enjoyed being with those people. It's a whole different ball game from Isshin-Ryu.
right,
And he had a lot of respect for Isshin-Ryu people. As a matter of fact, there were about five of us that went into the Bando Association. And I think at the time we were getting frustrated with Isshin-Ryu because there was just so many associations, but we never took our Mizugami off.
right.
And eventually I just came right back to the Isshin-Ryu. I didn't give it up, but I did train with them for a little while.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've only been in the IWKA. So I've only been in the original association, and that, you know, I am a lifetime member of the UIKA because my first
Uh-huh.
instructor had us join under Harold Mitchum, but I haven't done anything with that in forever. I just stay with the IWKA, and
Hmm.
you know, and that's just what I've done my whole thing. That's the only association my students join. Um, you know, I like it because frankly, Kichiro Sensei, it's a lifetime membership. You pay it once.
Right.
You know, the next time you're sending money is if you make black belt.
Uh-huh.
He never calls me up and says, "Why haven't you sent me memberships?" He never busts my chops about anything. Um, and that's what I like. And now, I mean, I joined in '79. You probably having a crazy low number from the AOKA. Your number must be very low, right?
I'm number two.
Okay, so you're number two, right? So when I joined, I was number 9232, and now we're almost up to 50,000.
Andy Sloan told me that number one is Steve Armstrong. I think there was some confusion when he went from the silks to the paper, and but yeah, Steve Armstrong's supposed to be number one. I'm number two,
Okay,
but I've been a lifetime member with the WUIKA, which started with Harold Mitchum,
right,
and now is run by the Ingrams.
right,
So John Bardashevich and myself are two advisors in that
right,
association.
right. Yeah, I know John Ingram. He actually came to the IWK has a tournament every 2 years. He came. I hosted the one in Europe in
Yeah,
2000. I hosted the one in Europe in 2019. He came. His students did very well. Kichido Sensei was very complimentary of their kata. He actually asked me whose students are
good.
those. I brought John up to meet him. John had never met
Uh-huh.
him. Kichido Sensei told him, he said, "Your students are very good. Keep up the good work." It's one of the things John Bartasevitz mentioned to me is that when they started all these associations, he goes, "Fine, you want to start your own associations." But John Bartasevitz said to me, "I don't understand, Mike, why they couldn't also join the Okinawan Association. Like none of those guys were having their students join Tatsuo Sensei's organization too. And after everything he did for them, like Bartasevitz was like, it kind of irked him a little
Yeah,
bit that they weren't doing that, you know?
yeah, me too. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I agree. I agree with him.
and
Yeah,
Isshin-Ryu, I could tell you now, is everywhere. It's
Oh,
everywhere.
absolutely.
It's
Oh, it's
it's
unbelievable.
it, I mean, it's all over Europe, South America.
Hmm.
It's in Russia. Uh, I mean, it's everywhere. There are dojo
Yeah,
literally everywhere. It's amazing
unbelievable.
how it's you know, like some people say, oh well, Tatsuo shouldn't have promoted those guys to such high ranks so fast. Yeah, okay, right. But his plan for expanding it and making it
Right.
grow all over, you can't argue with that because it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
Isshin-Ryu's not going anywhere. So whether it's there's only a small group of it on Okinawa, it's big everywhere else. I mean,
Well, so, I used to tell people when they started complaining about that, about the high rank coming back after 16 or 18 months. And I said, well, suppose we all came back as brown belts.
right.
Then what?
Nothing. Right.
What are we gonna do?
Right.
You got Taekwondo next door, with these fifth and sixth downs, and now you're going to open a dojo as a brown belt. So he was how should I put it? A man ahead of his time.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, the
Yeah,
guy, I look at just the way he put together his style, right? And I said, this guy was a genius.
yeah, absolutely.
He's a genius. Um, I mean, you look at Isshin-Ryu, you've got the empty hand art aspect of it, and then it's a serious Kobudo art.
Right,
And most of
right.
the other styles of karate didn't even do Kobudo. And if they did, they only had one or two kata, and that was it. It wasn't really a serious Kobudo. And I asked Kichiro Sensei when I was there in December. I said, Sensei, when Taira Sensei did Tatsuo Sensei pick the kata he learned, or did Taira Sensei pick them? And Kichiro was honest. He said, Michael, I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd think Taira probably said, "Oh, let me teach you these kata. These will be good kata
Hmm.
for you to learn." You know, and and you know, a friend of mine who did Ryukyu Kobudo for a long time, the Taira lineage Kobudo in Okinawa, said to me, they forgot Shishi no Kun in their system because they made it. You had to be seventh dan to learn it. And how many people make seventh dan?
Yeah,
So they
no
kind of
kidding.
lost the kata and had to relearn it. And my friend was saying to me, "But you guys in Ishin-ryu, you've always practiced that kata. You never lost it." So yeah, I mean, I think Tatsuo was way ahead of his time in terms of what he did. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the only thing about living here is karate is not a big deal here in the whole state of Wyoming.
Right.
I mean, if you come to Wyoming, you might be better off to learn bull riding rather than katas.
Right.
You know, uh, you know,
It's the
but
same here. It's the same here, Sensei. I'm out here in Arizona. I'm
uh-huh.
in a very small town. I mean, I'm not that far from Phoenix, but I'm way on the outskirts. And yeah, traditional martial arts out here, not big. I don't have a lot of students, and I'm okay with that at this point in my life. So,
Right.
you know,
Have you ever met Vic Smith?
I have not, but I've corresponded with him a lot.
Yeah, he's an old student of mine.
Okay.
He's in Sun City,
Right.
outside of well, I was in Congress for 4 years,
Okay.
and it just got too damn hot for me. I had to come back to Wyoming, but yeah, he's a walking encyclopedia. Well, he's handicapped,
Right.
and so well, Isshin-Ryu Karate has been his life from day one. And I remember the very first day he started, he was way overweight. I actually put him in a rubber suit and then put his gi over top of it, to lose weight.
Right.
He could probably tell you how much weight he lost in about 3 months. But yeah, he's a dedicated character, boy.
Yeah. I haven't seen him posting too much lately. So,
No, I haven't either.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't
No,
know how his health is right now.
yeah, I think he's had a tough time.
Yeah. So you seem to be in very good health.
Well, I've been lucky. I've had my share of bumps, but I always bounce back, and I just thank God for it, that I'm still standing, and I would love to be able to walk back out on a dojo floor. I don't do a lot of karate, but I have a living room big enough to do katas. So I do a slow version of Sanchin,
Okay.
just because of the breathing helps
Right.
me. And then I get out and I walk, when the
Right.
weather's not too bad. And so I just try to keep up a little bit, but I miss it so bad I can't begin to tell you. And I'm to a point now where flying is just about out of the question for me because I enjoy going down to the Ingrams. I enjoy going to IHOF, and I would in a heartbeat would go see Jeff Perkins and
Right.
John Bardashevitz and those guys, but I'm just not getting on a plane anymore. It's just too much of a hassle.
Right. Yeah. No, I know it gets tougher. I mean, I just got back from Okinawa in December, and with the time change and everything, I mean, when I was 20 something, I'd get back and I'd bounce right back. I get back, it takes me
Yeah,
10 days to get back into the swing of things, you
yeah,
know. You know,
I bet.
yeah, so I'm hoping to go a little more frequently to Okinawa. I will tell you it's and I've told some other people this. It was amazing to me when I went how many Westerners are running dojo there now.
Oh, is that right? Huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's surprising.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of them. The one dojo is run by a guy by the name of James Pankowitz, the Asado dojo. He actually asked, I taught there one night. He asked me to teach knife defense, and I taught it. Um, yeah, so
Uh-huh.
a lot of the Westerners, they're all under an Okinawan sensei, but they have their
Right.
own they have their own dojo.
Nice.
So yeah, it's great. I mean, it's really, really interesting what's going on there. And what
I
they've
pro
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no, go ahead. No, say what you're
Well,
gonna
I was
say.
just going to say I probably wouldn't recognize anything in
Oh,
Okinawa
you
now.
wouldn't. Oh, let
It
me
was pretty rural
oh.
when I was there.
When I went in 91, there were still rice farms near Kichiro Sensei's dojo.
Uh-huh.
And then I went back in 94 and it already changed like crazy. And then I went back in 97 because 97 they had the grand opening of the Budokan in Naha. Well,
Uh-huh.
Kichiro Sensei asked me to come and lead the demonstration for the dojo, so I did.
Oh,
And
good. Good.
but
Nice.
but let me tell you, from 91 to 97, it, I just was shocked at how it's changed. And now it's like, oh my God. Yeah, you wouldn't even recognize it. You wouldn't even know you're on
No.
Okinawa. It's just amazing.
Well, it's a tourist destination now, isn't it?
Big one. And they've made
Oh,
now they're making karate part of the tourist experience. So they actually have
perfect.
set up offices, karate tourism, they call it.
Uh-huh.
And like let's say you're a guy who has a dojo and you want to plan a trip to Okinawa. You can reach out to people on Okinawa and one of these tourism places, and they'll get you access to whatever dojo you want to train at.
Oh, wow. That's
So
nice.
yeah, so some of the dojo are really taking advantage of it. Some of the more traditional guys aren't as interested in that as some of the other ones. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's so at least they're doing something for karate because again, on Okinawa, it's not that popular. A lot of the young people are not training in it the way they used to.
Oh, but darn.
And then what happens is when the kids turn about 12 years old, they start doing soccer and basketball and baseball.
Uh-huh.
And, like I talked to some senior Okinawan sensei there, and I said, the problem is you guys tried to turn karate into a sport, and it's kind of a boring sport for a kid.
Yeah.
He does one kata, that's it. He goes, he maybe fights one or two sparring matches, that's it. Whereas he plays a soccer game, he's running up and down a field for 2 or 3
Right.
hours. He's running, so it's a lot more fun for them. I said, if you made karate like it's supposed to be a way of life, um,
Yeah.
then the kid maybe would say, oh, well, I can do karate and I can do soccer. But
Well, somebody said one time that karate should have never been a sport. And I sometimes think about that, and I'm not so sure they're not correct.
yeah,
Because when you look at the free fighting that we used to do, and there's just so much room for error.
yep,
And and then do you wear gear? Don't you wear gear?
right.
And so I don't know. Maybe that's
Yeah,
so-so.
I got to be honest. In my dojo, I don't do that sports sparring. I just do.
Right.
We do work on attacks. The guy attacks and you counter. I mean, again, as a police officer, I never saw a fight that looked like a sport karate match.
Exactly.
So I don't want my
Yeah,
students to
I
develop those
agree.
habits. I want them to be able to handle themselves. I hope every one of my students never has to defend themselves, but if they do, I want them to be able to survive the encounter. Um, so yeah,
Exactly.
but
Well, I think karate has, the tournament scene, the point tournament scene has kind of faded.
it has.
Now a lot of people are going for Brazilian, excuse me, jiu-jitsu and
Right.
MMA and that type of thing. So I don't know. I don't think the tournaments are anything like they used to be, back in
No.
the
Yeah, they're not.
70s, 80s,
Yeah. They're not.
so
Yeah.
I think it was inevitable.
So when you were there and did you learn like a bo fighting thing from Tatsuo or a bo sai fighting thing from Tatsuo?
No, there were some guys there that were doing that. They
Okay.
were working on it, and I didn't really get into that. I did when I got back to the States, but I did my own version.
Okay.
Not the one that I think the guy's name was Baker and Bill Blond and those guys were working on that kind of stuff, when I was there. But I didn't get into that, but I did get into it a little bit. Like I said, in my dojo, we kind of made up some stuff for demonstrations. We did a ton of demonstrations in the 60s and the 70s, all over, because where I grew up in Maryland, people just didn't know about karate. So I wanted people to know what karate was all about.
Right.
And I think I lived on a Delmarva Peninsula. So we did demonstrations in Delaware, Virginia, and Maryland. And I loved it. I never charged for it, not one time, but we did a lot of them.
So it's interesting. When I asked Kichiro Sensei what Ishin-ryu consists of in terms of kata, obviously he
Hmm.
named all the kata, including Hamahiga no Tuifa. But then
Uh-huh.
I asked him at 91, I asked him about the Bobo and the Bosai Kumite. And I said, is it the ones the Marines made? And he said, that's okay. He goes, you can practice those. Those are good. And
Uh-huh.
then he said to me, but you should change it. And I said, change it? We're allowed to change stuff, because everybody, oh, you can't change anything, right? And he says, yeah. He says, change the techniques, try different techniques. So the Kobudo system I studied is the same way. When you go to different dojo on Okinawa, the partner work is different from dojo to dojo.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so you actually did what everybody does on Okinawa, which is you made your own fighting drills within your dojo. And I've done the
Right.
same thing. Like I made a Tokumini no Kun fighting drill that I made for my dojo. So yeah, so even Kichiro Sensei said you should change the techniques. Don't just keep doing the same techniques over and over again. You should try different ones.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating. So I asked Bartasevitz if he ever saw Tatsuo Sensei use nunchaku, and he said never, right?
No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
No.
And but Kichiro Sensei told me that nunchaku's an Isshin-ryu in 91. And when I looked at him, I said, "Oh," I said, "What kata?" And he said, "Oh, no kata, just techniques."
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Well, how would I practice it?" He goes, "Practice hitting things with the nunchaku." Right? So
Uh-huh.
so again, I think Kichiro Sensei likes nunchaku. So I think he says, it's part of Ishin, which that's fine, right? Um, you know, but my thing, part of my journey in Isshin-ryu has also led me back to China. I've studied two different Chinese martial arts very seriously for a long time now, looking
Uh-huh.
for some of the principles that I think were kind of lost in translation from the Chinese to the Okinawan. Um, that I hope would make my karate stronger. And Walt Van Gilson came to one of my seminars one time. He showed up, which I was shocked at because I was teaching the seminar, and I was like, "Why is Walt Van Gilson at my seminar?" But I was talking about these Chinese principles, and he came up to me afterwards, and he goes, Mike, you're doing what some of us should have done. You went back to the source. You went back to China to compare the stuff
Uh-huh.
from China to Okinawa. And you're making a lot of very interesting discoveries that I think are good for Isshin-ryu, which made me feel good, right? Did you know Walt Van Gilson?
I met him only one time, and I think it might have been IHOF, and I sat down with him and talked to him. And when I left, I thought, boy, I'd sure like to know more about this guy.
Yeah.
he impressed the hell out of me, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I never saw him after that, you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah. Very
he's got quite
strong.
a history.
Yeah. Very strong karate man and
Yeah.
an amazingly nice guy.
Yeah,
Right.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah. And as
Yeah.
I get older, that's I'm more interested in the person being a nice guy than a great karate person.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm the same way.
yeah,
Yeah.
obviously there's a million so-called 10th dans out there now, across all the
Oh God,
various
yeah.
associations. And, sometimes I'm at an event and I see the way they talk to people and I'm just like, wow, like, why do you talk to people like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've never seen an Okinawan, a senior Okinawan sensei talk to someone like that. I mean,
Uh-huh.
so it's just interesting, how some people are, you know.
Yeah.
But
I used to joke about that and say, you know, if you're a 10th on, you should be, you know, losing your hair and what you got left ought to be gray. And I mean, you should just look like a wreck, you know, you know,
well, there is
with a
there is
lot of age behind you.
there is a bit of a change now in Okinawa. One of the
What's
things that
that?
one of the things they're concerned about is they're waiting too long to promote people to 10th dan. And by the time
Uh-huh.
they promote them, they really can't do that much physically anymore.
Right.
And they think it's actually hurting the styles. So you're seeing some young,
Huh.
and when I say young, I'm not talking young. I'm talking guys in their 50s and 60s getting it as opposed to someone in their 80s and 90s getting it. And this way,
Right.
their thought
Right.
process is if the guy's in his 60s, he's got another 20 years of actually being able to physically teach it and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kichiro Sensei promoted me to 10th Dan last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. And I was to say I was shocked would be an understatement, right? Because like I tell people, when I was a kid and I walked into the Isshin-Ryu school, if I ever thought I'd get promoted to 10th Dan by the head of the system, I would have told you were crazy, right? That's never going to
Yeah.
happen. Like I was lucky if I made black belt, right? But it's like you said,
Yeah.
if you stick around long enough and your hair gets gray enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
and again, I think people attach too much significance to it.
Absolutely.
Meaning, like when I got it, I said to myself, well, it's just his way of saying thanks, Mike, for being supportive all these years.
Right. Right.
It's not like it gives me power over people or anything. And I mean, it's just kind of an attaboy. That's
Yeah.
the way I look at it.
Seniority.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, but it was nice. But again, it still means I got to go out there and train and do what I'm supposed to do. Not, it's
Sure.
you know, and he's the same age as you. He's 86, Kichiro Sensei.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and his health's good. He has a leg issue. He has a leg issue, but other than that, his health's good. Um,
Uh-huh.
you know, but he's got one Okinawan student that's training with him a long time. He's a seventh dan, and he's got a French student that lives in Okinawa, that's been training a while. He's a Godan. A very nice guy. He also has his own dojo at his house on Okinawa. Teaches Ishin-ryu on Okinawa, the French guy.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so it's interesting what's going on there. How there is some changes where the Westerners are actually teaching there. So it's
Oh, that's
very
unreal.
it's very interesting, you know.
You know who I always thought was the most underrated Isshin-Ryu guy that ever put a gi on was Shinsho.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know, because he was just a kid when I was over there. A matter of fact, he wore a little black outfit, you know, a
right,
school
right,
uniform. But boy, you see him out on the floor, which it was kind of rare, but he was always willing to help you. You know,
right.
if you had a question about kata or something like that, but you see him do kata, it was exactly like the old man.
Well,
You know,
everybody that has anything to say about him says he was the best out of all the Okinawans.
oh yeah, yeah, I agree. It's just a terrible thing that happened to him. That you know, and he passed away way too early, and that whole story is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, again, mental health when you have serious mental health issues, it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough on a family. I think unless you've experienced yourself, I think it's hard for people to grasp
Hmm.
just how difficult it can be, especially if someone's not consistently taking their medication and doing what they're supposed to do, and you know, I mean, they found him after about he had passed away. He was dead for over a year when they found him,
That's unbelievable.
and it,
Unbelievable. I heard that. That just totally freaked me out.
yeah, so, but again, unless, like I said, I don't judge anybody's family, because unless you're dealing with that illness, and if the person doesn't want to help themselves, it's
Right.
very, very difficult to deal with that. And you're afraid to expose your own kids and your grandkids to it, because but
Sure.
but yeah. Hey, so how much did you guys do partner stuff when you were there? Did you guys work on trying to figure out what these moves in the kata meant and how to use them in a fight? Did you guys do
No,
that a lot? Did Tatsuo show a lot of that stuff?
no. But we did it after I got back into the States and opened up my dojo. But we didn't do that much working together. You were kind of doing your own thing, and uh, yeah, not a whole lot of partner stuff. We practiced a lot of stuff. For demonstrations. We did them all over the island,
Okay.
and but it's funny because I don't think that's a big deal now, but breaking tiles and breaking wood and doing all that was such a big deal back then. And so that's what we more or less worked on rather than working with a partner. If
Okay.
you did, it was just something you did impromptu. You just walk over some guy and said, let's walk through this kata together. But that didn't happen very often.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because now things have changed so much, right? I mean, in Okinawan karate, every style is trying to really understand how to use the different moves that are done in the kata against an opponent.
Uh-huh.
And the two Chinese arts I've studied, both of them, there's not just one answer for each move. Like
Uh-huh.
my one Chinese master, he may show 10 fighting applications for the same move. And that's what I try to do too in my Isshin-Ryu. I try to show, and Sherman Harold did the same thing. I mean, Sherman Harold helped me a lot with the fighting applications in the kata. Um,
Right.
and again, I'm not saying all the fighting applications are for everybody, but I think what I
Right.
think happens in my class is, maybe I show 5 techniques for a move, and a tall guy likes one technique, and a shorter guy likes a different technique.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
it's not that you have to master every one of the techniques. You figure out the ones that work best for you, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, so it's yeah, so I again, I always found it fascinating. And every first generation guy I've spoken to has said the same thing, that basically the class structure was very loose.
Yeah.
He would observe. If he saw you doing something wrong, he'd come over and correct it.
Yeah.
Um, I know Walt Van Gilson told me he lived there for a while. He stayed with an
Yeah, I know he
Okinawan
did.
family. He
Hmm.
told me he told me he did there were classes that were Okinawan only classes.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
and he did say he was allowed to come to those. And he said Tatsuo did teach them a little different from the Americans. He said there were
Yeah,
some things Tatsuo taught different.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not here. We can't ask him why, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, but
Well, getting back to that one-on-one type thing, the master every once in a while would pick somebody, mostly a vincula, just to do bunkai. So
okay.
that was working with partners and stuff that way. And then he chose me one time or two times, to get out there and just take something out of the kata and explain exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did do that
So it's interesting.
occasionally.
Okay, so it's interesting because I asked Don Nagel that question at a seminar he did with Avincula, and they had a question and answer period. And I asked Don Nagel, I said, Sensei, when you train with Tatsuo, would he show you one fighting application or bunkai for a move in a kata, or would he show you variations of applications? And Nagel actually said to me he never heard the term bunkai.
No, no, I didn't either.
Right. And he said
No.
that Tatsuo didn't really show him fighting techniques for the kata. So,
No.
but so again, but you're saying now that there were times where Tatsuo would show a fighting application for a move in the kata.
Well, it was more self-defense, not fighting.
Okay.
Like breaking holds. That's what I'm
Right.
at.
Right.
That type of thing. Somebody grabs you in a choke hold, you get
Right.
out of it.
Right.
But no, not fighting techniques.
Now, did
No,
Tatsuo ever show knife defense while you were there?
no. Mm-mm.
Okay. So, because we know because in the so-called 25 self-defense techniques that he would teach,
Uh-huh.
that the Armstrong guys call the secret scrolls, you know,
Yeah.
um, there was knife defenses in those,
Uh,
and also ground fighting, which I found kind of interesting.
hmm. I think we might have done a little bit of ground
Okay.
defense because I remember teaching it, in my school.
Okay.
But getting back to Nagel, there's an interesting character. I trained with him, and I was at his dojo in Jersey when Master Shimabuku promoted him to eighth dan.
Okay.
And so that was a night to behold. I'll never forget that as long as I live. They like to kill us working out. Of course, we're doing it in front of the master.
Right.
So, but and that's when he promoted me to Sandan in front of Master Shimabuku. So
Okay.
it was almost like I was starting over.
Right. Right. Yeah. I trained with Don Nagel a little bit, not a lot. I met him through Sensei Nick Adler, who Sensei Adler I'm good friends with. And
Uh-huh.
Nagel and I kind of we had that immediate rapport because we were both police officers. So
Right.
we kind of got along right off the bat, and I liked him. And look, let's face it, he was a tough guy. I mean, as a cop and stuff. I mean,
Oh man.
I've heard stories about him that would curl your hair. Um, you know,
Yeah, me
so
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. He did
Did you
his.
did you,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you ever meet his cousin Jim?
No,
Jimmy Nagel?
no.
Good fighter. Good
Okay.
fighter. He loved coming down where I lived on the Eastern Shore. And we just did a lot of sparring and super, super nice guy. He now he's an attorney and lives on one of those islands off of state of Washington. And
Okay.
he hasn't trained in a long, long time. But if you fought him, it was like fighting Don Nagel.
Okay.
Yeah, same techniques.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Sensei Nagel did his kata a little different. Like his opening of the first move in Seisan, he did a head block.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, and but the interesting thing with Don Nagel is he never changed his kata. Meaning,
No,
like I have him on video in the 70s doing the kata, and then I have him on video in the 90s doing the kata. Exactly the same. Like he never changed it.
right.
And I asked him about the opening in Seisan with the head block, and he said, listen, he goes, Mike, I know how all the other guys say Tatsuo taught it to them. I'm telling you, this is how he taught it to me. And
Hmm.
I'm not changing it. And I was like, okay, Sensei, I believe you. I mean, and so it's just so yeah, he was an interesting character, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
well,
yeah. I
Sensei, had
enjoyed being with him.
yeah.
Enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you. I'm glad we got to do this. If I'm ever in Wyoming, I'll reach out for you. And
Yeah, do so.
if you ever find yourself in Arizona, please reach out.
I will.
You know,
I will.
uh, and yeah, so I really like talking to you. I'll put this up in a couple of weeks. So
Okay.
I'll send you a link to it and
All right.
you can check it out. And yeah,
Okay.
I really
All right.
appreciate you coming on.
Okay. It was an honor to meet you. So you
All
take
right.
care of
All right.
yourself.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed my interview with Tom Lewis Sensei. I really enjoyed talking to him. It was my first time ever speaking with him. Again, anytime I get to interact with a student that studied with the founder of Isshin-Ryu Tatsuo Shimabuku, I'm really happy to do it. I'm glad he consented to it. I enjoyed speaking with him immensely. So hope you enjoyed it. Please, again, click that like, share, subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. All right. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.